So Travis, a bit of good news this week. We were named silver in the EFL Green Clubs award, which you've got right there.
Yeah.
Can you just talk a little bit through how we gained that award? Because it's obviously the first time the club has been recognised for its work with the environment.
Yeah, it's fantastic. It's been a long time coming, I think. So I joined the club in November 23, and this is what we've been working towards ever since, to be honest. So it's on a point scale from 0 to 100, so when I first started, we were on about 25 points, and now we've gone up into the kind of silver category. I don't know exactly what score we've got, but we've over doubled our score basically in that time. We're not too far off gold either, which is exciting as well. So we've kind of bypassed the bronze steps and have been acknowledged for all the good work that the club's not only started doing since I've been here, but also the bits and pieces that we were doing beforehand as well, that we maybe hadn't promoted quite so much. So things like the cans for City and all the great work that the volunteers do after every single game here in terms of the waste processing as well. Like that's all kind of contributed towards this award, and that's kind of a collective club effort towards this. So it's fantastic to be recognised by the EFL, and we're still part of quite an exclusive club to have one of these as well. There's not many clubs who've actually got silver or gold indeed. So it's a pretty big thing.
I believe the biggest kind of factor probably was that installation of those solar panels at the EFL training ground, which not only are great environmentally but also saved the club a lot of money.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that obviously scored us a shed loads of points, but also I think it's a really great illustration of how we are smart about how we're going about sustainability initiatives that we're putting in, because that was only possible thanks to the generosity of Devon County Council's Green Grant Fund, which came from central government, and we obviously had to apply for grant funding through that, and as a club we know we can't afford to just throw money at these things, so we're having to be really careful and actually look at where we can get those wins in terms of grant funding. And I think that's one way the fans can help. If they spot anything like that I can apply for and we can apply for as a club, then those are the kind of the things that we're really looking out for. So the solar panels was a massive tick, and we're looking to get them here at some point in the near future as well.
When you look at schemes like Cans for City, something that's going on for a long time, but it's a win-win on many scales, because one, we're doing a great thing for the environment in recycling these cans, and the less which are going to landfill or less which you find in hedges and stuff. And it's also brought in £6,500 to the club this year. So just by doing such a small thing as that, it makes such a huge difference, and it's money the club can spend on improvements and all sorts. Absolutely,
yeah. I think Cans for City is a great example of in the industry what we like to call the triple bottom line. So you've got people, planet, and profit. So it's a great community initiative. I.e., that the money that's been raised through that has obviously gone to some great causes throughout the year. It's great for the environment. Aluminium cans are some of the easiest things to recycle, and producing an aluminium can from recycled aluminium takes about, I think it's like 96 or 98% less energy than using virgin aluminium. So it's such an efficient process, and obviously it's extremely financially viable as well. So hence why we do it at the end of the day. But you find that increasingly, like you talked about with the solar panels as well, and that it doesn't only make environmental sense, it also makes financial sense as well. And that is where, as a club, we've got to target those initiatives that actually do make sense in kind of all three of those areas. So they benefit the community, they benefit the club's kind of wallet, and also the environment at the same time.
And we introduced a fleet of electric cars as well. As a media team, we have one which we use to kind of like go to games or get around the city. And I think probably at the start we were a little bit kind of like wary, just because it's, they've been around for a long time, but it's quite new, and you feel like, oh, you're not going to get, the charging and everything. But I think we found it really great, and once you factor that into your journey, it's a lovely car to drive and stuff. So the club being able to do things like that is very beneficial.
Yeah, absolutely. There's I guess especially with electric vehicles, there's a bit of a bedding in process where you change the way and you change your attitude towards driving. You leave yourself a bit more time, but then actually that you're going to get that 20-minute, 40-minute break at a service station or whatever, and you kind of, like you said, build that into your journey. But I think, the electric vehicles are just another example of where it, again, makes financial sense as well, because the club is now spending much less on fuel, and actually some of the solar panels on top of the training ground are actually powering the cars that kind of that go around to all around the country, really. And I think it's also about inspiring local businesses and fans as well to maybe invest, not necessarily in electric cars, because I appreciate they're a big outlay, but actually the things that we're doing as a club businesses and fans might look at it and be like, well, why couldn't I do that at home, or why couldn't I do that in my local business? And I think that's where the real power of a football club comes into play, is that what we do really has the potential to impact what thousands of people do, and kind of we're looked up to in the city is what I'm trying to say. And I think that we have a real responsibility as a result of that to do the right thing when it comes to the environment.
So we're proud to be silver now, but what would the next steps be to get us towards that gold rating?
Yeah. So we're already working towards gold. We're certainly not resting on our laurels with it. One of the things that is most instrumental is calculating our carbon footprint. So you've got your scope 1, scope 2 and scope 3 emissions. I won't bore you with the details of that, but basically we know what our scope 1 and scope 2 are. It's all about scope 3, which is kind of everything from the carbon emissions that are used to produce our kit, to the food that's eaten in hospitality, and kind of everything in between. So it's a lot more detailed than, say, the scope 1 and scope 2 emissions, which is more like energy and electricity. So we need to calculate that, which we're working with a local consultancy, BCR Associates. They're based in the city, so we're working with them already to calculate that. And once we've got those figures, we can then figure out, okay, these are the areas that we really need to improve on and drive down our carbon emissions. And once we've been able to show progress in those areas and kind of setting benchmarks, okay, we want to be at this point in this year, for example, or this month, that's when we start to see those points come in, and we can get gold. But we're not too far off.
And we talk about it a lot, and we are, as such a community club, it feels like these are the kind of things that we should be putting a lot of effort into. And then when you see the rewards around, the financial savings and everything, it just makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's great that the EFL are providing that kind of elevated recognition now as well. And it goes for all their awards really. I think as soon as you kind of you put some recognition towards it, clubs go, maybe we should look at this. And I think it's a brilliant initiative by the EFL, and they've changed the scheme, so it's sort of, it's recognising that those kind of lower rungs of achievement as well, because although we focus on it a lot, other clubs maybe don't have the resource or the time to look into this, and they're already doing some good stuff. So actually it's nice to see maybe the clubs who don't have the time to also be recognised for this kind of thing. But I think as a community-based club, you're right, like we need to protect our local environment, and that obviously snowballs into protecting the wider environment as well, outside of Exeter and East Devon. But yeah, I think it's brilliant that there is this scheme available, and I think it's only going to kind of grow in influence and importance really for clubs like us.
It feels like these kind of things can spark great debate and conversation and stuff, and I know the environment is a big, it's a big thing we have to look after, and people don't like being maybe told what to do and stuff, but it's important that we all take responsibility. And what are the small things that me and yourself can do to make a big difference?
Yeah, I mean, I think from a football perspective, the biggest impact that we have is our travel to and from matches. So the easiest thing you can do, and many people probably already do, given that we've got a train station literally 100 metres away.
It's passed you a couple of times already.
We can hear it. Yeah, is get the train, get the bus to the ground. Walk or cycle is even better. We're looking into ways that we can make it easier for people to cycle to St James's Park as well. That's the biggest thing that people can do really for us. But at home, it's looking into switching onto a renewable energy tariff to increase demand for renewable energy. That's really important, and moving away from fossil fuels. If you've got the money, then looking at solar panels or driving an electric car. Obviously all the basic stuff like doing recycling and that sort of stuff, that's not necessarily as impactful from a carbon perspective, but obviously looking after a local environment, waste processing is still really, really important. There's countless things to do, and I think just getting involved in your local community, holding us to account for what we do as well, and actually saying to us, look, why aren't you doing this? It might be that we just haven't thought of it, or it might be that we're already in progress and we might need a bit of help. But yeah, so coming forward with suggestions on what you would like to see the club do, I think is really important, and getting involved with surveys and bits and pieces as well. So if we ask for your opinion and what you would like to see us do, tell us, because we can't do it unless we know.
Absolutely, and then obviously you've ran some climate focus groups and things this season, so I guess it's important that if fans do have queries or any suggestions or anything, they just do, like, your approach, or just get in touch with you.
Yeah, absolutely. My email inbox is always open. I think that you mentioned the focus groups there, and actually there's a misconception that to have an input you've really got to know all about this. You've got to be a climate scientist or whatever, but actually you really don't, and the so-called normal people who maybe don't know as much about this, it's just as important to have their opinions as well, because they are just as valuable. And I think that people who work in this industry like myself are so blinkered to it, we sometimes forget about the very real problems that people face outside of the environmental sphere. So yeah, it's not just about the environment. Everything kind of leads into it. As I mentioned, the triple bottom line with economics. I appreciate it's hard at the moment, but the environment fits into that really nicely. So if we can get some more people along to those kind of sessions who maybe don't have such an interest or passion in the environment, then it'll really help kind of make those sessions more valuable and more rounded, and we get better outcomes out of them. So yeah, just get involved is my advice to people.